the sword of Mercury. So, today, we are looking at, again, the electromagnetic field of the human body, specifically getting into the heart and soul. Concepts that are not traditionally talked about in this day and age anymore in the 21st century. Of course, a lot of problems in the 21st century, which is probably why I just want to bring up this one small fact, actually, that in terms of like concepts like aura, and like, there are some people out there, I know this one girl who I actually like, and she's all like, oh, I don't believe in aura, and like, I don't know, it's just kind of baffling to me because like we can see the earth itself has aura. It's called the northern lights and the southern lights, aurora borealis and aurora australis. So looking at things on the planet that relate to our own biology, physiology, anatomy even, like we can call it, is important because it makes us not only self-reflect on like how we relate to these environments, but also like what is the use of this aspect being present in the field. And if you don't know, the electromagnetic field of the earth and the electromagnetic field of our own bodies are actually constantly exchanging information, and it's at its peak potential when there's a term in spirituality that's used a lot when we are grounded, right? And that just means when you're discharging energy and letting it flow freely back into the earth, things that are not needed. So that's important. In any way, I'm gonna get into the actual, I guess I don't want to use the term science all the time because there's a lot of holes with science, so let's just say the physics or the mechanics of it, and we'll bust out the tappy marker. The girl I'm referring to is actually an ASMR artist, and she actually makes that noise a lot. So where should we start off? Let's start off with the electromagnetic field as a whole. So the heart is electromagnetic, as we know from, let's just say, studies. The heart actually sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. So that's an interesting thing, and it really stems from the concept that the heart is this place where all of that energy that's connected with one's soul, one's spiritual energy, one's divine individuality, enclosed within a vessel, is contained and is able to flourish and express its energy, let's say. So that's the very basis of what the heart does, and it really stands to reason that your heart actually is the thing that governs how your body will function overall. And the interesting thing about this is, if you're familiar with revelation, specifically from like, I'm not gonna get into specific religions, I don't follow a specific religion, but in terms of the Bible and looking at the Bible and how it's like valuable, like revelation is probably one of the most important parts in the Bible, if not the most important part, I would say. And the thing we want to look at here is, I actually don't know how to spell it, actually, so I'll just write this. So, basically, the Church of Thyatira, which is the church relating to the heart, is called the Church of Principalities. And why is it called the Church of Principalities? Because it has to do with one's own principles on life. So, you often notice, like, what people say, what people always always say about like people who are walking around basically not following any type of like morality, and not morality in a sense of, oh, like this is what I do so you have to do this, but more morality in the sense of you have a code that you stick by, you have principles that you make yourself, you make within yourself as an individual, and you say, I'm gonna stick to these principles because this is what is reflective of me as a human being, or as an individual, as a being with a soul, let's say, right? And this is why, like, a lot of people who don't follow this, like, type of, like, we can say philosophy, let's just say philosophy for lack of a better word, are typically declared as like NPCs, right? Why is that? Because they're walking around without some connection to their own soul, because they don't have principles they follow. And that those principles are what govern the integrity of your electromagnetic field, your aura. So if you don't have principles, you can't have aura. This is the thing, and even one of the things we see in anime when it relates to aura is like strong characters will have strong aura. Why is that? Because their principles about their training, about their view on the world, about their view around how to gain strength, about things that actually matter to them in their journey are very strong. So it doesn't mean you have to be a righteous individual, or have to be some kind of saint to be in alignment with your soul, or have your principalities in the right place, essentially. It just means that, for example, if I say that, I don't know, let's say that I have to go to the gym this many times a week in order to like meet my quota, it means that I can't like basically abandon that because to make some kind of an excuse, which I know is not valid, right? So like say you're tired or whatever, like no, that should have no factor in your principles, because it's about do I have the ability to make this decision? Yes, okay, I do it, right? And overcoming those obstacles is what connects you to your soul and connects you to your principalities, your church of principalities. In any sense, that's what governs the integrity and the efficiency of your electromagnetic field. So people who don't have strong principles have weak aura. Simple enough, right? Who would have guessed? The heart is a pressure system. A lot of people don't really think about this, but when we're breathing, the process that goes on with the the oxygenation of the air is really connected to the heart, because the heart, again, is an electrical system. So, again, it oxygenates the blood, and removes, you guys know how the respiration process in. You breathe in oxygen, you breathe out carbon dioxide, and carbon, so I have this here. Carbon, the thing about carbon is when you add the carbon to it, carbon is used to filter toxins from the body, or from anything really. Carbon detoxifies things, so it's detoxifying the blood, detoxifying the body. So it's a pressure system when you're breathing. And the thing is that if that pressure system is working how it's supposed to work, it essentially ensures that the electromagnetic aspects of the body are kept in a state where it can create equilibrium and allow everything to govern itself properly and regenerate and restore and revitalize. And essentially this is the aspect of that pressure system. It also governs how prana, which is life force, otherwise known as chi or ki, is governed or channelized and modified throughout the body. This is why when you see people using the Gyan Mudra, which is when they here, I'll just show you guys, when they connect their fingers like this in like a meditative posture, specifically the thumb and that finger in the combination. Why is that relevant? It's because the Gyan Mudra relates to the heart, and it relates to this aspect of that prana being modified or being channelized in some other variations of a mudra. Mudra is just a hand position used while meditating to channel energy in specific ways for healing, for awareness, for maybe even physical, like invigoration or grounding or whatever. So that's the pressure system. Governs things like prana, things like breath, things like the electromagnetic charges in the body. Governs the proper filtration of things in the body, so it detoxes itself with the process of respiration. So the heart and the process of respiration work together, the heart and the lungs. Dimensional tuning fork. So essentially your body, your whole being is one big dimensional tuning fork, which is receptive to signals around you, kind of like a radio. And all you need to do is really tune into the right frequency in order to be in alignment with that which is in your soul, right? So sometimes if you're out of alignment, you'll get like static or interference, and this is normal. Same thing with like a radio, right? Why do you get static? Because typically you're either in between two stations, or the signal's not good, you're too far away from the source, right? So the same thing goes for your body and your soul. Essentially, if you're too far away from your principles, you get static. Or if you're channel surfing, meaning you're like reconfiguring yourself, you're going through some kind of process of change or flux, you can also be susceptible to the static, right? Also can be known as electromagnetic interference as well in some cases. So you are essentially a dimensional tuning fork, energetic regulator. So the heart is meant to, the reason why it's like, aura, and like you have this field around you, is because it keeps the energy enclosed. If you just had an electric field with no magnetic field, the energy would like disperse very rapidly, right? Or if you had a sound field without a magnetic field, the energy would disperse very rapidly, and all the energy would leave. What the magnetic field does in comparison to those other two fields is it keeps the energy enclosed in a circuit, so it can keep recirculating the energy in a loop, so it doesn't get dispersed unnecessarily, right? It means that energy is still in a circular movement in which it can be incorporated back in, meaning that it's not letting the energy leak. You're not having energetic leak. When you have energetic leak, it's typically because you have rips in your aura, or because you have some fragments of consciousness roaming about which are not beneficial, or you have entities attached, or your energy is tied to other people or whatever. That all depletes your aura, and it weakens your aura, and it causes auric rips in which your energy can leak. Circulation, pretty explanatory. I kind of just covered that. So it goes with energetic regulation. Natural high, essentially. What I mean by that is you can think of the aura as almost this bubble which you walk around with. So if you're modifying that aura to reflect what you want to see in reality, you can basically make yourself blissed out all the time if you wanted, without drugs or anything like that, right? And just make that an internal state naturally within your body. So natural high health. Your health is also becoming more efficient during that period. Space and time, you're moving beyond space and time, because essentially the lower centers, like the root center and sacral center, typically are tied to time. When you're going into the solar plexus, you're going into the aspect of something moving so fast, like the planet Mercury does, which is hence the name of this channel, in which it's starting to overcome the boundary of time. Speed can defy time. That's why things get strange when things approach the speed of light, for example. Going into the magnetic field now, the heart, which is the heart center, you are moving beyond beyond space and time. You're breaking those causality loops, which keep you repeating karmic lessons. So when you heal your heart, you no longer come into contact with that circumstance in the outside world. Purification, it purifies the lower energy centers, purifies the body, so you can ascend to higher levels and tap into, like, maybe psychic abilities like astral projection and whatnot. In essence, that is those aspects, and I'll spin around here and we'll look at some more. So here we have the little drawings, purifies the blood, spirituality. You get the spiritual energy moving up when you transcend it through the heart center. So just to point out there, you got the square representing the root center, the circle representing the heart center, and the triangle representing the third eye center. And all of these are pivotal in this movement because most people are stuck here in the square, and the square is like a box. That's why they say people who are locked into the matrix are in a box, or they're in the matrix because they're stuck in that box and they're not able to see outside the box. When you start awakening, you move that energy that's in the box up into the circle and then up through the third eye. And that gives you the ability to move beyond just the normal dimension of the box, which is one-dimensional. You start moving in higher dimensions, interacting with more energies, and of course you don't see it with your physical eyes and stuff, but you can feel it intrinsically in your being, that the energy around you is different. The aura around him is entirely transformed. So that's pivotal. Drugs. So yeah, you start making all these chemicals in your body. If you've ever read the book Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza, he talks about this. He's a doctor who's basically researched this stuff for a long time. He talks about the pineal gland and essentially what happens when you move that vital energy up through the body, and basically you get chemicals released in your brain like vasopressin, DMT, all these like chemicals that are basically like supposed to relax you and promote healing. Basically, I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but there's a bunch of them you can look into if you look into the pineal gland or the pituitary gland, and essentially what chemicals are created there. Melatonin, another one that's involved in sleep, but also relaxation. So your body starts making all these drugs, so you start to become very blissed out and become a more enlightened individual. In essence, so you have to pull that energy up through the centers. This is the basis of kind of what goes on with the heart and soul. But basically, your soul is magnetic, and that's why typically you get visions of stuff before they happen sometimes, because that is an aspect of your soul which is connected to the aspect of clairvoyance. So clairvoyance is an ability which is deeply linked to not just the third eye, but it's also linked to the heart. The third eye is sometimes known as the window of Brahma, which means like window of creation, basically. So it's deeply tied to the soul, because the soul it's almost like the compass that you are magnetized to. It governs your direction in the world. So if your soul is out of alignment, or you're not in alignment with the principles of your soul, you'll wander around aimlessly. But if you're in alignment with your soul, no matter what comes at you in life, you will always adjust, because you are magnetized to that thing, right? So nothing can come in between you and that thing. In essence, if you want to learn more about this, I suggest looking into Revelation and the Church of Thyatira, to just give you a brief overview. It says in the passage that he who has eyes like unto a flame of fire, basically signifying like the aura, and the Church of Pergamos, which is the solar plexus center, which, as I said, you're starting to move beyond time and limits in that center. The wind is the element above that, so it's looking down because, as we know, wind is necessary for fire to flourish, right? It governs and it's the moderator of the fire, right? It governs how much the fire will basically come up or go down, right? In essence, though, it's the modulator for the fire. So it says in the Church of Thyatira, "You has eyes like unto a flame of fire," and that's signifying basically that aura, that magnetic field. And it said, "That which I hold against you is you tolerated that woman Jezebel," basically, to sum it up in kind of, I'm just gonna be me when I say this. Basically, it's saying that she's a slut and doesn't have any kind of concept of romantic principles, because, as we know, the heart is tied to your connection to other people and typically to love and intercourse. Intercourse is tied to some of the lower centers, but it becomes transformed in the heart when you genuinely love somebody, your twin flame, your soulmate, your counterpart. When you're connected to that person, that energy of just sexual primal energy becomes transformed into a divine essence. So that is key. In essence, though, that's what I have for you. If you want to learn more about the soul and in this kind of dynamic, look into Revelation, the Church of Principalities. You can find that in Revelation 2 and 3. It talks about the 7 churches. In essence, that's what I have for you today. The Sword of Mercury, and like I said in a previous video, if you haven't checked it out, I recommend you looking into this. I believe it was something to the effect of the adversary's cage, or something about basically not jerking off and letting your seed energy be wasted. If you're a girl, you can also perform this. Of course, it's not the same vital life force essence, but you can transform it or transmute it in similar ways. But in essence, for guys, that creative life force energy can be transformed, and it becomes transformed in the heart. So I'm not going to explain everything I said in that video, but essentially the basis is, if you're practicing seed retention, when you pull that energy up into your heart, it becomes transformed into something else entirely. It becomes a higher divine essence, higher divine essence, higher divine essence, and it becomes transformed into a not just a more purified state, but a state that is now more divine in its nature. It's closer to the nature of the angels. I'll just touch on this briefly. A lot of guys practice seed retention now in gym culture and stuff. Oh, I want to boost my testosterone. Oh, I want to have more energy. That's great, but that's not spiritualizing it. That's its very basic level, where it's just sitting in the lower centers and it's not becoming transformed, because you need to be in alignment with those spiritual principles of your heart, of your soul. When you do that, it becomes that higher divine essence. So there's a difference just between practicing seed retention in its basic form and practicing it in its spiritual form. When you practice it in its spiritual form, it becomes a different essence entirely. It transforms. So look into that if you're interested. In essence, so this is what I have for you today on the Sword of Mercury. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this video. Check out my other podcast, Moonstruck. It will be going up on Rogers TV, and I will provide you guys the link as soon as I get that. But I will not be continuing that podcast in the future. All of the episodes that I have produced are now up on my channel, except for maybe 2 or 3, and I will be uploading those very soon. Because I'm moving my niche more towards fitness. So comment below fitness if you want to see more content around that on this channel. Maybe even incorporating some of these spiritual concepts like I did in today's video. Follow me on Instagram at top_sorcerer. Follow me on Instagram at prince_of_. and subscribe because it does really help support the channel. Again, everything that I'm doing here is for you guys. I already know this stuff, but I feel it's my mission to share that with people who also want to be on the path. There's 90 to 99% of people out there who will not take their time to incorporate this stuff into their learning and viewpoint of the world. Those people are the people who typically do not engage in self-development or personal development and self-expression, and it will be a detriment to them, maybe if not now, in the near future, I promise you. But you investing your time into learning and watching videos, which I can, attempt to make engaging in some way, so it's not just very boring and just super informative, is developing you as well. So never doubt that. Never doubt that everything that you are learning for with a reason. And again, my goal is just to provide you this information and bring it to you in an engaging manner so it can benefit your life and you can enjoy yourself as you learn this stuff. My goal is to benefit your guys' life because, if you're here watching, you guys are on my side in the fight, so of course I want you to be successful and become that version of yourself that you aim to be. So keep that in mind anytime you're watching this channel. So again, I will keep you guys updated on what is going on with my channel in the future in terms of me creating a new platform for this fitness content coming, and with my new fitness podcast that will be coming up shortly, and I will keep you guys up to date on that when it is airing. So also click the notification bell. I always forget to mention this. Subscribe and click the notification bell so you can stay up to date with any time I release a new video. With that being said, that's what I have for you today on the Sword of Mercury, brought to you by the Princess brought to you by the Prince of Mercury as always. And I love you guys. Thank you so much for your support, and I will see you guys in the next video. I'm out.